Hello.
Good evening, sir.
What's up?
Or I guess this would be considered mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
I had another guy that I was supposed to interview yesterday, and he was talking about mid-afternoon. And I should have asked him, like, well, what's mid-afternoon? It's like when people say, oh, it's 10 till 3 instead of saying 2:50. We all know those
Oh
people.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Always trying to
So
make convictions.
all right, so just to sort of intro this, we had scheduled the call at around 3:30 and I had just been immersed in the this past weekend episode. For this past week I spoke to a total of 5 people including Guap and Go Metro. We did the first dual podcast. Typically it doesn't work out, people talk over each other, but you guys did phenomenally well, so definitely stay tuned for that episode coming up soon. This is the Total Potential Podcast, and I wanted to welcome back Guap the Guru for his individual interview.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. Love to be back.
Absolutely. And it was really nice over the last hour to put that list together. And we're going down the road. We're about at 12 episodes now, totally, on the podcast. And we're starting to get people back. I spoke to Go Metro individually as well. He spoke about how tough life is now, that he got carjacked or attempted to get carjacked. Did he tell you about that?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't been. Wow.
Isn't that
When
wild?
was this recently?
Yeah, with like twice in the past week or two. And he is
Oh
safe.
my god.
But yeah, like I was like, man, I assumed that he would have told you that.
No, I honestly called him yesterday because we were supposed to have a studio session, but his phone hasn't been on. He got back to me later.
Yeah,
So
because he's in the Bronx. What part of New York are you in?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm actually going to the Bronx later. Funny story.
There you go.
Yeah, big moves.
Yep. And he said, his life really didn't take too much of a turn because his job is essential.
Yes, and he has to be out. Same as me. I'm working every day since the pandemic started.
Yeah,
Still,
tell me about it. How has that affected, not only your music but also your life?
well, in terms of my life, it has made things a little bit more strange, like not being able to be inside of places or having to think of other things to do inside more frequently rather than being in an open space and not having to be wearing a mask. But on the plus side, the first month at least did give me an opportunity because my job was fortunate enough to give us every other week paid off. So I took that opportunity to really dive back into my music again because I was on a little hiatus for like a month or two.
Yeah.
Just super focused at work. But when I had that opportunity, it really got me locked back in. And I would say since the pandemic has started, I've had the opportunity to put out way more beats and way more, a lot more work with people and also do a lot more work with people, which has given me that same drive that I was looking for months ago. So
Absolutely. And I've been seeing the transactions, that it really looks like it's working out for you well. I'm very happy for you.
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay focused and trying to provide a service for as many people as I can, as well as learn about the artist. I'm a big person on relationship building.
Yeah.
So having the opportunity to sit down with somebody or even video, FaceTime call, whatever you want to call
Sure.
it, it's for me, that's the biggest thing. Like money, I know I'm going to make regardless. Doesn't matter who it is or how I make it, but I know it's going to come because money always comes. What I look for besides that, and I value this way more, is learning about the people that I'm spending this time with and really trying to understand who they are rather than what they're doing, because who they are is a part of what they're doing. And if you don't know the person that you're dealing with or don't care about the person that you're dealing with, then your business is not going to be that great, because it comes back to a transaction versus an interaction. And me, I like an interaction way more than a transaction.
Very true. I like that. And I spoke to Go Metro about possibly doing an album review, because a lot of different artists have been requesting me to preview their music. And I've also had other artists suggest Zoom and, different video recorded calls. And these are two things that I'm in the process of learning and developing to be a part of the channel and the page. That a part of the pandemic, for me at least, was not so sure about what sort of content that I could create, because I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I couldn't have people in the studio. So doing the audio only podcast has been such a refreshing break for me, not to have to deal with, 4 cameras, 4 sets of audio, syncing, all of this audio all together, making cuts. This audio is just, I hit record, we talk for an hour, we bullshit a little bit, talk personally, develop the relationship. But these other artists that I'm speaking to are nearly insisting that I produce for them a Zoom meeting, recorded. And for me, I don't want to have to worry about my background. I just want to be able to talk to people,
Yeah.
that although I, could set up in the studio, since we're under construction, it's just not an option right now. That depending on what we're doing, I can't have, recording equipment and microphones around a construction zone. Like, it's just not the best idea. I can slip in once a week for this past week where I talk about, the people that I spoke to that previous week. But I mean, what do you think about that? Like, part of me wants to do Zoom meetings because I feel like I'm pigeonholing myself by not opening myself up to that. Do you think it would be worth it to figure out how to record Zoom meetings?
What I would say, in terms of Zoom meetings, only coming from an outside standpoint, because I don't really use Zoom like that, but I have been assisting my family members with it. Yeah. I download the app to learn about it, but what I would say is, with the capabilities Zoom has, it will allow you to do your podcasts as well as your videos without having to worry about crazy editing, because you have a backdrop that you can just put into there. I've seen, at least my roommate, like, while he's doing Zoom calls with his job, there's a whole bunch of things in the background of people's screens that they put up themselves, and it takes like 2 seconds. So,
so you're saying there's like themes or settings that like cut you out of the background?
Like, you're still in front, like, there, it's in your background. Whatever your background is inside of your home, would be replaced with whatever image or motion. Yeah.
Okay. And then another part of me is with like the webcam stuff, and then I could connect my Canon 80D to my laptop to make myself have a better camera. So these are all things that I'm kind of, debating, but I digress. I wanted to ask you, and I know we briefly covered it with your relationship with Go Metro. Has he been the first artist that you've kind of taken under your wing in a sense? Or has there been other artists? And when did you start the process of producing, and what inspired you to do that?
Got you. So, in terms of producing, that has been a long time thing. I started doing that when I was 11, so it's been 16 years now. As for me and Go Metro, me and him started. He heard about me through my job because I was always talking about producing stuff after work and doing things with artists. And he told me that he was an artist as well, but he hadn't put out music in such time because he was in the army. Sure. So we got to talking about that, and then after a couple months, he left that job, but he still kept my contact because he remembered that I was serious about my music.
Sure.
And that was what I was doing. So me and Go Metro linked up like a year later.
Wow.
Maybe a year.
Hey,
two,
it's
maybe.
that vibe. It's that same vibe that we all kind of put out, where it's like, hey, we act like we've known each other for 100 years. Like, we don't have to act like strangers.
Exactly.
So
he reached out to me and told me he was trying to get serious about his music and where he was located and stuff like that. And at that time, I was just getting ready to move to Brooklyn. So, yeah, got to talking, and boom, things started happening. And Go Metro made his way over here, and we had our first experience, and that was interesting, as I'm sure people will hear about on the group podcast.
Yeah, I promoted it the same way. I was like, it's way too sick to tell the story twice, and I'm glad we're not saying it for a third time.
Yes.
That I've got to put, although I'm not gonna do it, but I should put a warning.
You're funny. No, but these are all experiences. Well, anyways.
No, totally.
The first experience happened, and things went a little funny, but we found a way to get back together. I forgave him. So, yeah, since then, everything has been amazing. It's been wonderful. His voice memos and ideas, he bounces to me instantly. I have ideas for production.
Yeah.
And when he get in the lab, he just plays it for me the first couple minutes. I hear it. I might ask him to play it for me one more time, and then I start creating the beat from that voice memo. And from there, he starts to write his verses based off of the beat that I'm creating live for him. And since this project started, that's been every track we did. There were more tracks that we did aside from those 6 that were on the project, but those were the ones he felt most gave the people the best representation of him as a up and coming artist. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I've got a question for you. An idea that I suggested to him would be an album review, right? So here's a idea for some content that we could make collaboratively, that an album review or where I sit there and react to the album. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, I sit there and react to the beats of the album with you, right? So then I react to the music with him, I react to the beats with you. Should we do it as 2 separate pieces with individual videos, or should we do one video of both of you guys on the phone like we did previously, and then at the same time I would react to the album and to the beat at the same time?
I think that way would work out best, only because I think doing it separately, people would want to hear the beat by itself, and I don't want to take away from Go Metro because I made those beats particularly to show people his talent and his skill. So
him singing or rapping would still be on the beat. It wouldn't be the beat only. It would just be that we would be analyzing the beat in the song. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like we'd cut him out of there. No, that wasn't what I was thinking at all. I mean, the other thought would be to actually do how you made the, like, let's say if one of them is your favorite, we could then do, what process you went into making the beat. That's another idea. I'm just throwing stuff out the same way that I threw it out to Go Metro, and then I just thought of you and the aspect of the beat, because truly the beat is its own artist. That it's like the beat shouldn't even be called the beat. The beat should be called the producer's name.
That's true.
You know, that it's like the beat is kind of like it's like a stand-in for the producer's name. I've never understood that. That it's like, 'cause it's like that's an artist. Like without that
Well, the
beat
thing about
represents somebody.
producers is when an artist is going over a beat, they have the opportunity to, depending on what kind of beat purchase they made, to either keep the
Put
producer's
tags
name
and stuff.
exactly, keep the producer's name or not, or write it in whatever title they're going to put the song in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And we can talk a little bit about that. I mean, because I think we very briefly spoke about this, was YouTube beats. What's your whole philosophy with YouTube beats?
Oh, okay. So YouTube beats, man, this has been a long time thing. Got you.
Yeah.
So for YouTube beats, I was a hater for a long time. Not gonna lie, because I would always be like, why are people always going to YouTube to check out beats when everyone has like their beat sites that you can check out? And I've thought this for years, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's scary because people put their beats up there, and you know they're gonna get ripped from people, so it becomes an issue later on. But recently this year, I realized the producers are doing this on purpose. And I'm like, it's kind of funny because they know people are going to take the beat. They know it. But all this does for them is give them another lane of exposure they weren't looking for, but they still get it. Even if the rapper or singer isn't that great, people love the production behind the song. If they like that, they'll most likely still like that song. They may not love the song, but they'll still like it. So these producers put their beats on there. I'm guessing hoping that someone rips it off of YouTube, and that hoping that someone is someone really famous, and then boom, now they're a YouTube sensation.
And I think also a part of it is the leverage is in the producer's hands, that it's an educational deficit on the artist's side because they're using beats that they don't own. And let's say, 10 artists pick the same beat. Let's say all 10 make bangers, but somebody 10 years ago bought it for $15 and they own the rights to it. Those 15 artists are SOL, unless, there's some negotiation involved. But definitely all the leverage when it comes to YouTube beats is on the producer's side, because at the end of the day, I mean, look at me. I'm using a beat for the This Past Week show by VSN. So he's a local producer. He got brought out to LA as a studio DJ. The contract, was only for a year or so, and then he came back to Cincinnati, and that's one of the beats that I'm using over and over again. So big shout out to him. So I really feel like I've at least gotten to benefit, because at the same time I'm also promoting these producers, versus artists. I mean, how many artists in their description are giving credit? But at the end of the day, when you're really trying to cash in those checks, you're going to get a letter in the mail and be like, hey, where's my 100% royalties? Yeah. And I mean, look at Little Uzi Vert, or was it Juice WRLD with Lucid Dreams that stole the lick from Sting, and he had to pay Sting 40%.
And that sucks because he passed away, and now he's losing money that could have provided his family with more things.
Sure, but using that riff, catapulted his career. So overall, it was an okay decision. I mean, have you ever thought about that? Like just sampling the hell out of a bunch of good songs? I think people should do more of that. And know full well that you're going to be taken to the cleaners for 80%. But just have a handful of other bangers, waiting that you actually have produced.
So, yeah, for me at least, producing. All right, so let me put it like this.
Okay.
If I were to sample beats, I probably would have been a millionaire already. I'm very good with sampling. But my thing with sampling is I was so scared about that copyright issue kind of stuff, so I never really did it. I know how to sample and know how to chop very well. A lot of people tell you about my production work for that, but I personally choose 97% of the time to create it from scratch, only because I don't want people to come back and say that piece of work is not something that you created, whether it be something minuscule. But
Yeah.
in terms of sampling, that is the easiest way to gain attraction for an artist, because
Yeah.
people love to fall back in love with something they've heard before. And that's why sampling in the producer's game is top notch.
Sure.
Because they know it'll hit an emotion that the artist, singer, or rapper can't get rid of.
And then the second biggest thing is ghostwriters.
Yep.
It's like a backpack. It's like a fanny bag rapper. Like, what do you need?
That's the thing. So with
it's
me,
like you need sampling, and then you need everything else.
Yeah, man. And I try to promote my business in a way so they understand that I do all of that stuff. Yeah. So I was like, hey.
So maybe that's a project that we can put together, because, you know, I feel like, at least locally, and I don't know how it is there, but at the end of the day, if it's not a banger, if it's not something that's going to cause some controversy, it's not, you know, going to be big money, you know? And to even have, like, let's say a separate LLC that, you know, handles this said material, and hey, you know, like, if someone wants to bury that LLC, let them bury it, you know? That's how I look at it, you know, and that's the type of mentality that I have, because the same way that you can go hard on samples, I own this building too. You know, so as far as music videos and different things, if it's a project that my company is working on, we can go all out. You know, that's what's so dope about, you know, what I also bring to the table as far as, you know, from a big project standpoint, because
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, look at like DJ Khaled, for example. That's like, as a DJ, bringing together 4 or 5 artists on a track. You know, I know the industry really doesn't like him because he's kind of hacking the system, but I like that mentality.
He's hacking the system.
You know, I like having 5 awesome artists, you know, all killing it. You know, like, the type of project that I would want to create would be similar to that, you know, where it's, you know, 4, you know, maybe 2-3 beats in one song, you know, 2-3 like beat change ups, and then with those change ups there would obviously be a different artist coming in, a different artist coming in, you know, and I don't know if I don't I don't know if I would want to format it like a Cypher, or shoot individual scenes in individual locations, you know, that I don't know how exactly I would want to format it.
I have an idea for you.
Yeah, tell me.
I don't know if you want me to talk about it here, because it just hit me, but it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not do both? This is exactly the idea that I have. You do it Cypher style, but you use the mic as a transition, like you would for a red light when, you know, on air shows, like people get ready to clap, whatever it is. Use the mic as a transition. You can throw it off screen and have another producer catch it, or another artist catch it in another location, and have a beat switch up, so everybody has a new visual as well as a new track as well as a new artist that they're experiencing, still being connected by the one thing, which is the microphone.
Yeah. And I mean, the best thing to do is to record the video in each person's city, so we don't need to do crazy driving, and then send all the footage to one Dropbox folder, and then one person, maybe me, or, you know, and then you have to obviously put a soundtrack together, you know, once you have the final thing. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that could definitely be an interesting concept. Um, because that's really what people want. You know, people get bored. You know, if you listen to a song for 10 seconds, I'll shake your hand. You know, most people, it's the first 10 seconds, and then it needs to be, you know, a banger, you know,
Yes.
and just be all over the place. That's like, if we're gonna copyright flag, like, let's go to the moon and back, you know. I mean, bring in all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I know you to talk, you know, a little bit more about your team. Who would you say is in your roster? I know you mentioned briefly your videographer connection and different things on the double podcast, but go into the background of who's helping you be successful.
Okay, so who's helping me be successful? Honestly, it's God. That's the answer I'm going to give you because
There you go.
all I do is bust my ass and work as hard as I can to reach out to people and make these beats that I love producing. I mean, I love producing. So yeah, I just keep pushing myself and trying to reach out to people that I feel would represent my production work and represent their artistry the best. And persistence and consistency is really it. But in terms of my team, it's more of a moral support and things like that. But
Emotional support.
yes, emotional support as well as sometimes production. But most of the time it's me assisting them on adding something and me asking them for a critique on what I'm doing and seeing what else they can add if they feel that anything else should be added. But for those guys, once again, Norman Perry, find him Norm Perry OTE. That's his handle for everything. Um, Poetic Fingers, my guy Brian. That's his handle. Classic underscore YHE. That's Ben. That's my other guy. Crazy producer. Darren. Brainiac. I don't know what his name is right now because he changed it like 3 times, but I'm sure he'll figure out his real name.
I've got friends like that.
Yeah. But yeah, these are some of the people that I associate with. Like we have like a
Yeah, tell me
group of
about
10
them.
people.
Like, I know you mentioned their names, but what do each of them? This is your individual podcast, so we got time.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
go into detail, like each individual person. What do they do?
Well, Norman, Brian, uh, Ben, and Darren are all producers and somewhat artists. Some of them do write songs, but some of them stick in the production lane. They are who I mostly speak to, and Sam Sullivan, Sam Sully beats phenomenal. He's an instrumentalist. That's someone that understands me on an instrumental level, in terms of playing actual instruments. So he's another person. Those 5 guys, I would say, are the people that I talk to the most.
Producers.
Yes, they're the ones that I talk to the most about uh, production and what to do with artists and trying to gain the right audience and what to do about trying to gain attraction or exposure. But yeah, those would be the guys.
Yeah.
The people in that group are people that I've met in Boston in my college, the New England Institute of Art, which I'm not even sure still exists, but if it does, that's crazy.
The other idea that I got while you were talking was doing some sort of beat review that the previous company that I worked for was named College Beats. And one of
Yes.
the ideas that I always had with the company was a warehouse of beats. And I wasn't able to accomplish it because a lot of producers saw their beats as children, you know, so people don't look at their beats like it's a commodity, you know, that it is a part of you in each beat. And
Absolutely.
I did a College Beats live show where I kind of, you know, just sat there, played a beat, and listened to it. I did that once, I believe. Um, But I'm trying, like you said, like brainstorming about different ways to promote beat production. Um, Obviously, the same way that an album gets reviewed, beats could be reviewed. But
Absolutely.
um, I'm trying to think. I mean, one way that we could go is on the back end of your beat selling site. Does it have the analytics as far as like which beats are the most popular? So we could do like a top 10, like, do you agree with the top 10 beats that are the top 10 sellers or whatever? Do you have that back end information?
Well, it's a little tough for that because with my Beats site,
Yeah,
that even though it technically says I started it 2 years ago, I really started using it a month and a half ago.
sure.
So there aren't really much analytics to
Okay.
work with on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I know personally what people have purchased and what people
Yeah.
like. Yeah, there's always a way I can create a playlist like that.
Yeah.
But
Just so then I could like, have some sort of structure, that it's like these are the top 10 beats of the month, right? Or top 10 beats of this year, or
yeah,
some sort of like slogan or show title of some sort. I don't know. Um, but after we spoke about the people on your team, I wanted to also kind of touch on your short term goals. Are these individual goals? Are these group goals? Like, what short term goals do you have in front of you right now?
my short-term goals right now are to gain gain awareness of more artists from Brooklyn as well as New York City, which I have been working on for the past year, and it has been working out. Um, but yeah, that is my short-term goal, and to hopefully get out of my actual job.
Yeah.
But yeah, long-term goals, I would say, um, which we have been doing as a group. We've been pushing Norman Perry because he is the artist that we feel in our group has the most potential. Not to say that neither one of us don't have as much potential as him, but we just know whose time is whose time, and right now it's his time, so we're focusing on him. Um, Aside from that, for my individual self, what I'd like to do long term goal is to produce and engineer full time and to be able to go to whichever location I need to do that if it's not my own home. But yeah, that would be my long term goal to be successfully producing for artists and engineering for them as well, and then kick back.
Full time. That's
Yes,
the
sir.
that's the dream.
Yes, sir.
Where can
'Cause
people find you?
people can find me easily. I have a link, smarturl.it/Guap the Guru. That's GUAPTHEGURU. And that'll link you to everything, my Spotify, my Apple Music, my Instagram, all that stuff.
And I'll also have that link down in the description below. I want to ask everyone that has not, please subscribe. We are coming around the bend of 900, 100 to go.
That's awesome.
Hopefully, that doesn't mean 100 interviews one at a time. But if I have to, damn it, I'm going to. And I've also started talking to a few other individuals, and like I said, they're requesting Zoom. That when I go into other, what's the word that I want to use? What's the word that I want to use? I don't know what you want to consider it. People that insist on Zoom interviews, guess what I got to start doing? producing Zoom interviews. This is what I do. I'm a video producer and editor. I got to figure it out.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Good
Shit.
boy.
So I'm doing my best. I hope everybody has enjoyed everything. Before we go, I wanted to ask you, do you have any questions for me?
Let's see. Yeah. I would say, who or what inspired you to get into uh doing film and video? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to, because I've told this story several times, I'm going to try to tell this story as concise as I possibly can. Okay.
You got it.
So I went to college for business management. I met an individual in my marketing class. He had a company called College Beats that had 20,000 followers on Twitter. So, in my opinion, it was a little bit of a catfish that I didn't see that they were following 19,000 people. And at the time that I was going to school, I didn't really recognize that that's basically fake numbers, right? But I spent the last 4 years promoting College Beats, right? And at no time did he share any of the content, the original content that I was producing for the company, while he would post copyrighted content that ultimately got the Twitter shut down. Then I had a family friend that was a lawyer. You know, we contacted Twitter, we got the account back. And one of my main roles was also supposed to be merchandise. But instead of going with my lawyer's tech company, he went with one of our DJ's brothers that took about 2 years to come up with a landing page. So the entire time that I was working with them, they didn't post any of my content and they never put the merchandise on the website. And so within those 2 to 3 to 4 years, give or take, I refined my video production skills and I was the chief media officer and basically handled, you know, all the graphic design, the video production, the editing, and basically, you know, did all the groundwork, you know, finding local talent, finding original content, you know, because the same way that you were scared about copyright, so was I, you know, and I tried to make as much goodwill as I could in the industry, which I did. And I invested, you know, about 4 grand into a camera, into a laptop. And my partner at the time said, you know, if you buy these things, I'll take care of you. Right. And so basically, I ran around locally, built up relationships with hundreds of people, you know, built up goodwill, did good work, you know, treated people how I wanted to be treated, you know, who knew, right? You know, and because I think that's our generation's biggest challenge right now is treating people how they want to be treated. Like, that's what our culture needs right now. But not everybody, you know, shares those same intentions. And, you know, my partner said, Tony, you know, you have good intentions and you mean well. But guess what? Good intentions aren't good enough. That, you know, just having good intentions, just working hard, that if someone wants to take advantage of that, one of the things that I've always said is I want I want someone to take advantage of me as quickly as possible, right? So then I can cut them out because I don't want it to affect the rest of my network. So I'll like intentionally be too nice or too giving, and then I want someone to take advantage of me so that I can know that that person isn't someone that I can rely on long term. Because if we're talking about nickel and dimes and you can't trust somebody, great, you know, but down the road that's really going to hurt you, you know? So that is what I would say. And I know I went off into another tangent, so I wasn't very concise. we'll see. We'll
It's
see
all
how
good,
many
bro.
more
Don't worry.
times that I need to tell a story, but I'm trying to give you more detail. That, like I said, dude, to be completely honest, I had no intention to be a videographer or a video producer. I was like the, president level kind of guy where, sure, as a way to promote the company, I needed to do video production. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I, saw myself more as a manager, right? I would rather have, 4 or 5 producers that I'm contributing to and helping them improve their work. That I value my success dependent on how many other people that I can help be successful. Because guess what? If I want to be selfish and go make a bunch of money and not help anybody out, I could do that. But I want to see how many people that I can help become successful. That I think that is what being truly self fulfilled is. Um, and I think we all
Absolutely.
share that mentality.
Yes, indeed.
So besides, because everybody asks kind of the whole inspiration thing, because that's always my first question. But other than my inspiration, any other questions?
Yeah. What do you like to do when you're not working on video and film? What's something that puts you at peace or at ease?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have enjoyed fishing quite a lot, and over the past year or two, I've sold my boat, I sold my kayak, I sold my truck. I was planning on moving out to Fremont, California to go to a coding school, but before that, I did a ton of fishing, hanging out with friends, and it just got to a certain point that fishing is pretty expensive and it's pretty dirty, but to be out in the water alone, and as you can tell, I'm a talker, right? And
Yeah.
the benefit of fishing is you have to be quiet, right? So it kind
Wow.
of like gives me an excuse, gives me an activity to be quiet.
That's different. That's a different take on that. I
Yeah.
like that.
That it's kind of like an excuse that, in my own way, I would consider myself an introvert trapped in an extrovert's body. That,
I feel the same way.
yeah, our society forces us to be extroverted. That I would much rather just sit on my porch and enjoy my day, breathe in some fresh air, maybe smell the better green on the other side, and enjoy myself, have some wine maybe, you know don't drink and drive, and be chill. That I think a lot of the people that are in college and that they're over drinking, that they have the same problem. They're forcing themselves to be extroverted. Nobody wants to like drink hard liquor. It's not like it's like a good experience. Like, sure, you
Yeah.
get ripped. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like there's any progress being made here. That how I've always looked at, and I'm kind of going into a different tangent, but it's a good one. Like how I've always looked at college, and where I think now our whole society is going to change, is that you're not going to school in order to learn anything. The reason why you're going to school is partly it's kind of like daycare for children and daycare for adults, but we'll get back to that. That the primary reason that school is important is networking. That the reason why you want to go to a nicer school is because there's going to be better kids around you. And that, your roommate or your posse of friends are influential people with influential fathers, influential uncles, influential mothers, influential cousins, influential, nieces and nephews, that all of these families have these networks of people, and the reason why you go to school is to meet people. In my opinion, as far as your potential success in life, that, hey, Jimmy, I'll let you run my company, but you need to go to school for 2 years. And then you go meet Timmy, and Timmy's like, oh, yeah, my dad has a bunch of openings back at the company, guys. You guys are covered after graduation. Let's get fucking ripped. Like, that's what's going on. And that now that schools are going to be completely online, yeah, sure, you may enter into a Zoom call, sure, you may enter into a group, sure, you may meet somebody, but what is the likelihood of networking, nowadays? That, no handshakes. I mean, like, this is a major hit.
Yeah, man.
Have you ever thought about that?
I have. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. And think about it. I had a couple $1,000s, put away for me for school, and I didn't want to go into debt. So although I didn't have a ton of money, I just went to, like a sister school of the bigger school, Blue Ash, and, because I didn't want to deal with debt. And my partner had gone to Ohio State and drank himself stupid and had to come home, right? And so, although he had a pretty good background, obviously he didn't make it at Ohio State. So that should have been red flag number one. But, you got to think about it. I didn't go to the worst school, but I didn't go to, main campus, right? So the people that are in your environment dictate the type of person that you will become.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I definitely think that that's a word to the wise. And that's what I like about this podcast, that I also get to kind of explore my thoughts. So you asked me what I do in my free time. I watch a lot of like podcasts like Joe Rogan. I'm doing a lot of construction. I've got a family friend that we go over to the pool. I just sold him my hot tub. So right before the market crashed, I sold all my Bitcoin, and then I bought a hot tub, and then now I just sold it. So,
nice.
That's how I've kind of been able to remain afloat, is through cryptocurrency. I've kind of run it up, sell before it gets too high, and I've timed it pretty well.
That's awesome.
For the past few years, but the problem with me is, like, I don't have like a day job. Like, I do this 150% of the time, work on construction, fielding calls. I really need to take it more seriously. I need to like create some sort of procedures list of, all right, I'm available to interview people at noon and at 7 p.m. or something like that. That I need to like build in some structure, but I guess sometimes it's important to be flexible, but I'm learning. Do you have any suggestions for me or feedback that, we had the group interview, like from that experience and from you listening? Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I had a chance to listen to it.
Yeah, luckily, so do you have any feedback as far as the recording or what we spoke about, or any ideas?
Not really, because I know with the situation that we're in the pandemic, we don't have much room for audio kind of construction, but for working over cell phone conversations, it came out pretty well.
Yeah, I was able to knock out a lot of the noise, and I then throw a bass boost on, and then I turn it down to like -12, and then I do like a automatic EQ, and then I turn on loudness or whatever.
Yes, to bring up the decibels of those missed words.
Yeah. And then I also have the noise gate on. Yeah, noise gate, because I'm on GarageBand, and then I'm using, for those who care, a RE20 mic, a 10-channel Yamaha MG10XU with a processor, which is the DBX286S, and then that's going into my 2015 16 gigabyte of RAM, or of whatever it's called, MacBook Pro, and we're using, like I said, GarageBand. Yeah, are we basically good?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I can wrap it up. Where can people find you?
smarturl.it/Guap the Guru. And yeah, that'll bring them to everything. Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, BeatStars, all that stuff.
And I will also be listing that link down in the description to make it easier for you guys. And if you appreciate it, making it easier for you, please make it easy on me by going down and clicking the subscribe button, please. This is what I ask of you. And if you don't already know, this was Anthony Marshall. This is the Total Potential Podcast, reaching each of our total potential over the last 51 minutes and 53 seconds. If you haven't yet, check out all of the links down in the description. And as always, we'll see you.
See you guys.